totally forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you know what people will argue, right? They'll argue about cause and effect, you know. People will tell you, I worked hard for this money. I worked very hard. This was the cause. The effect was I got all this money. And I thought of plans to maximize profits. I had meetings. I trained my staff. So it's me. And now you're telling me that Allah did it. If Allah did it, what just happened by itself? But I put this effort. So they obviously misunderstand that ultimately in the end everything goes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ultimately in the end everything goes back to Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah could have made you someone poor. He could have made you someone who lives in a primitive, if you want to say, tribe in the jungles in some island. You could have been that person. So ultimately Allah put you in this place, gave you all these opportunities. Some people tell you no, some things are very clear. Someone is sick, gives them medicine, they're okay. What does Allah have to do with that? Tell me, akhi, have you ever seen when two people will be in hospital beds right next to each other? Both of them have the same illness and the doctor prescribes the same medicine. One of them gets up and walks away from that bed and the other one dies right there. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it that way. So yes, I know the cause and effect and I know the science of how the medicine works, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is involved in the equation. And that's why both of them had the same situation. One walked away and the other died. So you can't tell me Allah is not involved in this situation. So, something, the scholars in Islam, they say something nice. They say that you cannot be arrogant or proud of something you had nothing to do with. That makes a lot of sense. How can you be proud of something you had nothing to do with? So a brother is tall, okay? So yeah, I'm choosing height, not because I'm short or anything, but just a tall brother. And he's boasting about how tall he is. He's like, how tall are you? I'm 5'6". Really? I'm 6'5". Reverse yours around. I'm 6'5". I've always been tall. Really? MashaAllah, you're so much better than me. Is there an exercise or something you did that made you taller? No. Did you have any hand or any part in becoming 6'5"? No. Is there anything you did to be 6'5"? No. I was just born this way. So why would you boast about something you had nothing to do with? And if you did an exercise, for 5 years and made you 6'5", you can boast about it, but you didn't do anything. So why would you be proud of something you had no part in gaining whatsoever? Someone has nice hair, so he'll come up, he'll tease an African like me, he'll do the shampoo commercial thing to me, yeah? He'll be like, look, can you do this with your hair? Can you? Like, no, I can't, but why are you showing off? Yeah? Did you do anything in your mother's womb that made your hair soft, yani? I was in there just sleeping, you were in there just like, make this thing look good, You didn't have anything to do with that. So how can you boast? How can you be arrogant about something you had nothing to do with? Whatever it is. People always want to boast about things for the way Allah made them. Why don't you attribute it back and link it back to Allah Azza wa Jalla? Oh, I never suffer from jet lag. Oh, you must be more man than me then. You don't suffer from jet lag? Allah made you like that. Don't boast. But what about other things? So that someone goes to the gym, builds a phenomenal physique. He says, look, I lifted all these weights to look like this. Allah had nothing to do with it. I put the effort. No, ya akhi, Allah had everything to do with it. Besides the fact that you could have been that guy in the tribe in the forest, Allah gave you resources that enable you to go to a gym. Because you need resources for that. And some people are too poor to go to a gym. Some people don't have money for these nutritious things that you take, these powders and mixes and testosterone. These kinds of things, you know what I'm talking about? Thank you. Only a few people caught that. That's great. So realistically, there is no escaping that you need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the believer who's constantly aware of that doesn't have moments where, they move away from Allah because things are going well. And then when things go bad, they rush to Allah. If things are going well, it has something to do with Allah. Things are going bad, the solution has something to do with Allah. So all the time, you find yourself circulating around being close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no escaping the fact that we're in need of Allah Azza wa Jal. Can we train ourselves so that when things go well, we don't start to relax when it comes to sins, relax when it comes to acts of worship. And not only when we become like that guy in the beginning, only calls upon you when they need something. And we all saw that was not a good friend. So this servant that only calls upon Allah when there's an issue. Never once puts his hand up to thank Allah or say something else. Just when they have an issue, that's the only time I remember Allah. Now, just like we didn't describe that as a good friend, would you describe this as a good servant? as a good slave of Allah, as a good worshipper? Definitely not. Some people say, well, if you're like that, how can you ever become self-reliant, and how can you ever believe in yourself and believe in your own abilities? These people just misunderstand. Recently in the news there was a quote from a lady who is a billionaire, yeah? So she said those people who are poor and the middle class, they should stop socializing, they should stop talking a lot and complaining about the rich, and they should just work harder. This is the billionaire lady. This is what she said about poor people. You're complaining about tax breaks for the rich and not. She said, work harder. Stop your complaining and your socializing and go work harder. The sad part of the story is that she inherited her billions. And she has the audacity to tell people to work hard. What did you do? What did you do to get your billions? You're just born. That's it. You found it there. So she can't gloat, right?